Back in high school, I was a metalhead.
I don't quite exactly remember how it started. My dad was a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and they have some heavier songs. He probably also introduced me to Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Regardless, by the time I was in high school, I was this dweeby little nerd who also happened to headbang to Slayer.
A lot of my friends in high school were also metalheads, so it's probably fair to assume, even if I denied it at the time, that my taste was informed by glomming onto the things my friends liked in an effort to fit in. I never bought a ripped denim jacket or a studded belt, and I don't have a collection of band patches to show off either. This is as metal as I get. Despite perhaps never fully immersing myself in the lifestyle, I still enjoy the music to this day, and a lot of my taste from back then, low-key kinda holds up.
3 Inches of Blood, all 5 of their albums are fire. Mors Principium Est, perhaps the best melodic death metal band, especially their early stuff. Harak Angren, incredible symphonic black metal with a folklorian twist. The best Metallica album is in fact Ride the Lightning. Fear Factory's cover of Cars is their best song. Time 2 by Wintersun was never going to be worth the wait. Overkill's discography is incredibly underrated. And yeah, I'll stand by my friend group's take that Pantera kind of sucks.
Sorry.
But to a lot of people, heavy metal just sounds like noise. The lyrics, whether screamed or growled, are hard to understand. The guitars are so distorted that it's difficult to discern the melody. The drumming is too fast and aggressive. And why are all these people so damn angry all the time?
These things are distinctive to the genre, but as with any genre, there's always variance. One thing a metalhead might tell someone to try and get them into the genre is that there's definitely a type of metal for you just may not have heard it yet.
You may not like Thantifaxith, but what about Dimmu Borgir? You may not like Anthrax, but maybe you would like Dream Theater. You may not like Cannibal Corpse, but have you heard of Sun? Oh, parenthesis.
This may be true, but I also think it dodges the question as to why this genre is the way it is. Why are all these people so angry? Well, if I were Tony Iommi and I lost the ends of 2 of my fingers in a work accident, I'd be pretty angry. And if downtuning my guitar to make it possible to play in that state resulted in a more distorted sound that reflected my anger, hey, that's a win.
Sometimes the anger of heavy metal originates from the same sort of political unrest that gave rise to early punk, be it the opener to Black Sabbath's eponymous LP, War Pigs, Saxon writing Strong Arm of the Law in response to being searched by Margaret Thatcher's security, or decades later, just about everything that came out of Rage Against the Machine. Sometimes the anger manifests itself in the form of somewhat comical teen angst, such as with the legendary crossover act Suicidal Tendencies. And if you want to amp up the angst even further, nu metal acts like Papa Roach and Korn. Sometimes the anger is designed to serve storytelling, with Amon Amarth and other Viking metal acts telling fantastical tales of war, fighting monsters, and destroying evil. In some cases, the anger comes from true hatred, with the flagrant bigotry of Mayhem and many of the other originators of the Norwegian black metal movement being a stain on the genre's history.
To many, the crimes of the likes of Varg Vikernes were so well known and well documented that this became the de facto association for not just black metal, but heavy metal as a whole, which is a shame considering the true breadth of the genre.
In reality, in most cases, this anger isn't actually reflective of any sort of hateful or bigoted ideology.
Ultimately, the mistake here is with the question, because generally speaking, the people making metal aren't angry people. In fact, more often than not, they're mellowed out and chill in conversation. Instead, anger here is being treated just like any other emotion, and heavy metal music explores that emotion and uses it as a musical tool.
Just as many songs explore love and heartbreak and joy and loneliness, the big through line across heavy metal's various disciplines is that it explores the emotion of anger and harnesses it as a core musical tenet. So in many cases, the people aren't angry, the music just is. But sometimes the people making heavy metal actually are angry, and sometimes they may actually have a reason.
So one morning, my dweeby little ass walks into high school, and as per usual, I can hear my friend's eardrums getting absolutely destroyed by the latest single he happened to come across. And it was from a band neither of us had heard previously. Ektomorf? Ektomorf. Oh, like the Ektomorf body type, I see.
The song was called I'm Against from their 2008 album, Outcast, and to dweeby little me just getting into the genre my friends liked, this was in many ways completely unlike anything I'd heard before. Compared to the complex instrumentation of the mellow death I admired, or the fast melodies of thrash I loved, Ektomorf's brand of groove metal was direct, pointed, and unignorable. Outside of a single guitar solo, the instrumental melody here is literally 4 notes repeated over and over again, bar after bar.
Even more pointed are the lyrics. While Viking metal often paints vivid images through its storytelling, and death metal often paints in metaphor, Ektomorf just tells it exactly like it is. I wonder if he wants to be one of those slaves he's talking about.
No, I'm not gonna be a slave. No, I'm not gonna be the same. I don't belong to this fucking shit.
Oh, guess not.
I'm Angriest.
As we dug further into this album, the other songs are even more direct. Some of these songs read almost like they were improvised on the spot. This dude could have written this whole thing in a day.
Why can't you see? Why can't you see? Why can't you see that you just fuck up my life?
Do you think he wants this person to stick around, maybe talk it out over a beer? My favorite part of this song is how it opens. Me too, brother. Me too.
If heavy metal is about channeling anger, Ektomorf epitomizes it in its purest form. They don't have the pop appeal of Iron Maiden, they don't have the personality of Ozzy Osbourne, they don't have the technical chops of Megadeth. But in some sense, all of those things are compromises that pull the music away from what the heart of heavy metal is.
Years later, now in my 30s, having listened to countless metal acts across its wide array of subgenres, nothing really comes close to the raw simplicity of Ektomorf.
It's just distorted, down-tuned guitars, loud banging drums, vocals screamed so powerfully that it hurts to even attempt, and some of the angriest, angstiest lyrics ever put to paper.
Wonder what the message is.
And Ektomorf are the absolute masters of this specific craft. For over 20 years at this point, they've been consistently pumping out the angriest groove metal to hit the scene, still releasing new music to this day, and still sounding angry as ever.
But why are they so angry? Is it just a form of posturing? Is it all an act? Or does the angsty anger of Ektomorf actually mean something? Outside of the rage, the blunt lyrics, and the heavy down-tuned guitars, one key other distinctive element shines through in places. And while it doesn't always sit at the forefront, it's all over the Outcast album. From traditional samples to authentic instruments to even the underlying chord progressions, it's the influence of traditional Roma music that anchors Ektomorf's sound and prevents it from becoming aimless.
The Romani population is more commonly known to Westerners as the Gypsies, but like many minority populations, there's a lot of baggage that comes with that terminology. Many consider it to be a slur, others take it as a form of personal empowerment. The Roma have nomadic origins, meaning that traditionally, their home was not a particular place or region, but rather the people they're with as they travel across Europe and Asia. And with that came an immense sense of cultural pride and dedication. Rather than assimilate to the nations they resided in, the Roma took great effort to preserve their culture, their food, their dance, and of course, their music. This was important as Europeans did everything in their power to strip the Roma of their history. The term gypsy originates from the lie that the Roma originated from Egypt. They actually emigrated from northern India, merely making a false determination based on appearance, similar to how indigenous Americans are often called Indian. These false assumptions by others, along with the lack of many first-hand historical artifacts, means that there isn't a lot of tactile material to go off of when learning about the history of the Romani people. In that sense, the culture is all that remains, and the Roma keep that alive as much as humanly possible. Roma music is beautiful and particularly unique because it pulls influence from a wide range of folk musical styles due to the Romani people's nomadic history, often fusing disparate elements from varying disciplines and creating something wholly original. In doing so, Roma music ended up impacting the music of many European nations, from the Spanish flamenco to the Turkish fasil. It's lively, upbeat, and dance-focused, but to some degree anchored and rooted in the perseverance, struggle, and poverty of the Roma. Without formal recognition, their culture and their pride is all they had.
And the more you listen to Ektomorf, the more obvious the Roma influences become.
Even in the most straightforward of songs, the samples are there, the instruments are there, the melodies are there. And that's because frontman Zoli Farkas himself has a Romani background.
His mother was Hungarian and his dad was Roma.
He and his brother Saba started playing heavy metal music as teenagers, inspired by the classic thrash of Metallica and Slayer and the groove metal stylings of Sepultura, using heavy music as a means of empowerment and escape from the bigotry they faced from local neo-Nazi and white supremacist groups. They opened for larger Hungarian acts, and as they slowly gained modest popularity, Zoli and his band traveled across Europe recording and playing live while living in the grimiest places and just aiming to get by.
Somewhat akin to his ancestors, music and culture was all Zoli cared about at the time because that was all he and his band had, and his music, bluntly written as ever, reflected that. And the truth of the matter was that he and his band did have to do twice as much, if not more, to reach the same pedigree as their equally talented contemporaries.
It would be nearly a decade of activity before they were signed to a major label. At the turn of the new millennium, the decision was made to start recording in English instead of Hungarian, and via ruffling through a set of random demo tapes, Zoli learned of the producer Tu Madsen, who would go on to produce nearly everything they made from then on. And it was only after these three things that finally Ektomorf began to receive true international acclaim. It was in spite of both the overt bigotry and the societal racism working against them. It was in spite of the poverty and the struggle. It was in spite of being turned down again and again that, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Ektomorf emerged. If anyone has reason to be angry, it's Zoli Farkas.
To me, this is where the meaning of the band's name comes into play. The Ektomorf body type isn't muscular, isn't tough. It's slim, meek, and unassuming. The pseudoscience associated with this body type classification similarly presumes that people who are ectomorphs have passive personalities and aren't tough or resilient. Just like the Roma, however, these assumptions are false, and to Zoli and Ektomorf as a band, calling them weak only fuels the flame that much more. No matter what, Ektomorf persevered, and no matter what, Ektomorf will continue to persevere.
It's hard to say for sure, but perhaps this sort of mirroring of ideals is what motivated Zoli and his band to infuse more of this Roma influence into their music. Roma music and dance came from a place of joy and camaraderie in spite of the struggles of Romani life. In some sense, Ektomorf uses anger in the same way, as a means of self-empowerment and pride when confronting their own struggles. Their breakout English album, 2004's Destroy, clearly demonstrates Zoli's desire to maintain his heritage as a core pillar of his music when it both opens and closes with the same Roma sample. And their follow-ups, Instinct, Redemption, What Doesn't Kill Me, and the aforementioned Outcast, continue to anchor this heritage in their sound even as their style evolved. The only problem is the same problem that a lot of folks have with heavy metal music. That initial barrier of noise and lack of comprehension is just too steep a hill to climb if you don't want to climb it. If it all sounds too loud and angry, it's easy to miss the true meaning behind the anger. That's why Ektomorf's best album, perhaps one of the best albums ever made by a heavy metal act, intentionally strips all of that away and leaves bare the raw emotion and heart behind these songs. 2012's The Acoustic.
In lieu of some sort of greatest hits album, Ektomorf decided to re-record some of their hits and personal favorites in a manner far more reminiscent of Zoli's Romani ancestors. Acoustic instruments and vocals, only with a touch of modern flair with the choice of a standard drum kit on percussion. The sound instantly transports listeners to that of a nomadic caravan settling in for the night as a break from a long journey, gathering around a bonfire and letting the music consume them.
The album opens with I Know Them, originally from Destroy.
I see the world and it's full of hate. I don't be hypocrites and I know them.
While the metal version reads as a call to arms, a battle cry of sorts, the stripped-back acoustic version hits at the true core of the song, a comparison between those who hate, control, and manipulate, and those who resist and persevere. The lyrics sit more in the front of the mix, allowing listeners to truly listen to Zoli's straightforward yet powerful message.
They cannot take my life, they cannot stop me, they cannot take my right. No!
From their 2010 album Redemption, which perhaps is the record which leans into nu metal and emo stylings the most, we have the title track, I'm in hate, and stigmatized, the latter of which in particular feels form-fit for this sound and brings the bigotry Zoli and his ancestors faced to the forefront.
Give me more pain, I take it. Give me more hate and I make it. I'm stigmatized.
Redemption is sort of the opposite, a song which clearly fits the nu metal mold more clearly, but which gains a whole other layer when stripped back.
With English not being Zoli's first language, his matter-of-fact spoken delivery of the first verse is, on a technical level, not the most effective, yet it's that imperfection that wins me over.
For all those who goes through the pain that makes you a hopeless slave. Those who get close to lost every day. In their heart, nothing else, only hate.
The fact that he took this square peg of a song and forced it through this metaphorical round hole is a testament to his dedication to his craft. More than anything else, he wants us to listen to his words.
The album also features 2 covers that, at first, seem completely unexpected and out of place, but in the context of this campfire, Roma, folk-coded acoustic masterwork, fit surprisingly well. Track 7 is an immaculate cover of Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues, unironically my favorite version of the classic.
The song opens with some simple solo arpeggiation, with Zoli passively singing the first verse in an arrhythmic, relaxed manner.
It's as though everyone in the metaphorical caravan stopped to listen to Zoli bare his soul for all to hear.
I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
But at the conclusion of the first verse, as the reverberating acoustic tones start to dissipate, but before the silence can set in, we get a vocal 4 count, and the song springs to life as Zoli flies into the second verse.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The rhythm guitars are infectious. Zoli's vocal range is on full display here, and it shines.
When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, oh, don't ever play with guns.
For perhaps the only time in Ektomorf's recorded history, we have a performance that is not to be headbanged to or listened to angrily. We have something that, akin to Zoli's heritage, is meant to be danced to. As the vocal performance is left bare at the front of the mix, it becomes plainly obvious why this song is included among the selection for this album, as it's about the same things that Ektomorf is about. Desire for freedom from those that oppress, whether stuck in Folsom Prison or stuck on the streets of Vetting, Berlin, where Ektomorf grinded for years before their big break.
The other cover is of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Simple Man. The lyrics to this song acquire a different meaning with the context of Zoli's background. The song is based on a conversation Ronnie Van Zant had with his mother, who advised him to live life simply, happily, and with purpose, and not let the vices of the world lead him astray. To Ektomorf, however, this advice lives in contrast to the rest of their catalog, seemingly confused by anger and vitriol.
Placing this song in direct contrast to the likes of I'm in Hate forces listeners to accept the idea that one can express their anger at the bigotry, racism, and outright unfairness of the world while still being grounded by these principles of faith and humility.
Zoli even contributed new originals to the package, which are perhaps the most fascinating of the lot, and round out the album into something completely unlike anything else in their discography. Through Your Eyes, I see as perhaps a response to Simple Man, as Zoli sings about someone who gave him strength, fortitude, and most importantly, perspective as he chooses to see the world through this person's eyes. Be Free and To Smolder, believe it or not, are breakup songs. The former reads as a sort of toxic expression of grief from losing this relationship, as Zoli concludes that the only reasonable solution is to never open up to anyone again.
I learned my lesson after all. Never trust, never fall. I live my life this way, cause I don't want more pain, no more pain. No more pain.
But he contradicts this by seemingly begging the universe to let his heart be free from that pain and be able to possibly love again.
Let my heart to be free, and I'll be down the sky and leave this all behind.
To Smolder is a healthier reflection, recognizing that pain is part of the healing process, and in order to move forward, he needs to let the metaphorical smoke clear.
My
The existence of these breakup songs add further context to the more straightforward covers and reveal that the personal and intimate are often interwoven with the societal.
Ektomorf's anger typically presents as one note, but hides nuance and complexity under the surface.
Again is my favorite original of the lot, as it uses Ektomorf's usual lack of lyrical nuance to seemingly tell two stories at once.
Upon a first listen, with the context of Zoli's Roma heritage, the lyrics read as expressing a desire for a true homeland free of the hatred and bigotry the Roma have faced in Europe for generations. But with the context of the other breakup songs on the album, a second listen reveals that Zoli may actually be speaking of a metaphorical home as he attempts to find love again.
Just look into my eyes, you see who I am. 'Cause even if it takes forever, I will find my home again. Yeah, I find my home again.
An acoustic album by Ektomorf wouldn't be complete without one last re-recording, a new rendition of an iconic acoustic track from their past catalog. Breaking up the two halves of Outcast is a song with deeply Roma influences, featuring Zoli, a small ensemble of acoustics, and drums, as he plainly expresses that after being burned so many times, after metaphorically and probably literally being spat on so many times, he pleads to God to show him something, anything that he can trust.
On Outcast, Who Can I Trust serves as a sort of palate cleanser between the heavier stuff, while presenting almost as a sort of anthem for the band, which guides the subject matter of their entire catalog.
My rage is rising, I can't deny it. I scream it out, I scream it out. Who can I trust?
On the acoustic, however, this anthem is revisited with a new context of the tracks which precede it, effectively tying up the themes of the album in a bow. Having heard Zoli out with all of the noise set aside, the message rings stronger, and as a listener, it's hard not to feel some solidarity.
I suffer, it's a part of the world. It's a part of my life. But what I can't is better suffer from the hate, what I feel inside. Time is short, burning fast. I try to find some forgiveness. My hate is rising and I never deny it. Scream it out!
The Acoustic isn't just Ektomorf's best album. It's perhaps one of the best albums ever recorded by a metal act. It not only provides an effective gateway into both this band's sound and other bands who sound like them, but also, in a very different way to the rest of their discography, forces listeners to engage with its subject matter and demands attention. This isn't why every metal band is angry, but it's one reason, and it's a damn good one.
Seeing Ektomorf continue to evolve past this key moment has been fascinating to watch and incredible to listen to. Many groove metal acts hit a snag later in their career as their sound begins to stagnate and all of the songs begin to sound the same.
Ektomorf already mastered the art of shallow, emotion-forward groove metal prior to the Acoustic. Instead of retreading old ground, the band continued to sonically experiment, incorporating elements of thrash and power metal, and perhaps more importantly, lyrically experiment, taking the best lessons from the Acoustic and addressing more personal themes on newer albums.
The lead single of 2015's Aggressor is Holocaust, a blunt documentation of the horrors of the genocide while intentionally sugarcoating nothing. 2018's Reborn is a blisteringly fast cinematic thrash epic with the masterful 7-minute instrumental Forsaken serving as a sort of centerpiece for the project. And most recently, 2025's Heretic is directly informed by the loss of Zoli's mother, the loss of Zoli's dog, and, as he phrases it, how Zoli nearly lost himself. A deeply personal and existential project which centers around how one can believe in God, themselves, or anything when immense tragedy seems insurmountable.
For someone going through such tragedy, the album must be therapeutic. For those not, Zoli's words are hard to hear and demand empathy.
There's an irony to the band which seemingly wrote songs about anger and nothing else, now being able to tackle all manner of topics while still centering it in that anger. But in truth, while Ektomorf's early work felt shallow, the depth was always there. Perhaps, even to those accustomed to the loudness of heavy metal, we let the noise get in the way of the truth of Ektomorf's music.
Zoli and his band may not have the same acclaim as their contemporaries, but that's not through lack of trying. They worked twice as hard, changed languages, found a perfect match of a producer, and have released countless incredible works of art. If you don't understand why they're angry, that's your problem. Undeniably, Ektomorf has always been extremely clear about what they stand for. Ultimately, it's up to us to listen to their words and decide what to do next. Oh, wow. Well, thank you all for watching this one. Here's the big reveal. I went around this area just trying to find like grimy shit, so that way it looked kind of metal, but the truth is, I'm not a metalhead at all. This is a playground. So, there's that. In all seriousness though, thank you so much for watching this one. Just like with all the others, there's a number of folks who helped me out throughout the making of this, so check them out on the credits, wherever side that is. I don't know what side it's on, it's fine. With that, I'm going to also recommend 2 other videos for you to check out. One is, it's been a long time since I've done a video about like rock styles or metal at all, but I made a video about Queens of the Stone Age years ago that I still think holds up pretty well. And then I also made a video about the hip-hop group A Tribe Called Quest's last album that I think would be great for you to check out as well. So thank you so much for the time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace out. This isn't a metal tea either. This is nerdy shit. This is like video game shit. This wind is crazy, dude.